I am sure and confident the failure of the government earlier in controlling the COVID situation, lockdown, 4 hours notice of lockdown, and the rampant spreading of the COVID in the country. We have, as a public civil society organization, it is our duty to discuss all these issues in total and bring to the notice of the into the public domain. Telangana Jana Vedika, which is an organization with lot of interesting features. We have discussed a lot of issues in the 340 weeks we have conducted. Let it be gender issues, socio-economic, political situations, education, creativity, economic scenes. Lot of issues have been brought up, and Telangana issues we have discussed in total in this forum. Now, it is my privilege to invite Professor Nagesh to throw light on the NEP and the situations which the country is facing in education, particularly education scenes. We have seen the 10th class examinations have been postponed and students have been declared passed without writing an exam. This is number one. And in higher education, we don't know what is going to happen to the NEET or the JEE. There's a total confusion in this country about the education, which is going to actually, it is going to lay the foundation of the future of this country. And the NEP, which the government has suddenly brought into the notice, into the public domain now after the adoption of the cabinet, NEP, there are 2 or 3 issues which we have to discuss threadbare. One is mother tongue education up to 5th class. Second thing, after 70 years, suddenly the whole system is now brought into the public domain and it is a confusion to state. Neither they have discussed in the Education Council, nor the UGC, nor any of the public domains or the universities pertaining to the alumni of the universities. All these issues without taking anything into consideration, suddenly the government brought the NEP, which will bring more confusion. And I think we have to discuss these issues very, very threadbare. So I hand over this mic to the moderator, Professor Srinivas, who has been conducting all these webs and the live meetings as a moderator, as a president of this organization. I hand it over to him. Thank you. And one more thing I would like to tell you is, if you want anybody to speak, anybody wants to speak, you please raise your hand. I'll give the key to the unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. Unless I release the key here, nobody can speak. So please do not disturb the speaker who is speaking. This is a very important issue. Anybody wants to speak, you please raise your hand or chat with me. Thank you very much. Yeah, just good. Just good, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rambu Garu. Thank you once again. Telangana Jana Vedika Zoom online meeting ku ichchesinatuvanti Vedika sabhyulu Professor D. C. Nagesh gariki, Director UGC HRD Center, Usmania University, Hyderabad, and Vedika sabhyulu మిత్రులు అందరికీ సాయంకాల నమస్కారాలు తెలియజేస్తూ అందరికీ స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం. ఇవాళ అంశం చాలా ముఖ్యమైన అంశంగా నేను భావిస్తున్నాను. ఎందుకంటే విద్యారంగంలో నూతన ధోరణులు అనేటువంటి అంశాన్ని మనం ఎన్నుకోవడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. వాస్తవానికి విద్యారంగం మీద గతంలో చాలా సార్లు కీలక ఉపన్యాసాలు తీసుకోవడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అయినా మళ్ళీ దీన్ని ఎందుకు తీసుకున్నామంటే 2 రోజుల క్రితమే దేశం లోపల ఒక కొత్త నూతన విద్యా విధానాన్ని భారతదేశ ప్రభుత్వం తీసుకొని రావడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అదే జాతీయ నూతన విద్యా విధానం అనేటువంటి దాన్ని తీసుకురావడం అనేటువంటి జరిగింది. అందులో ప్రస్తుత విద్యారంగంలో నూతన ధోరణులు ఏంటి అనేటువంటి దాని మీద మనం డిస్కస్ చేసుకోబోతున్నాం. మరి డాక్టర్ కస్తూరి రంగరాజన్ నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాలసీ 2020 అనేటువంటి డాక్యుమెంట్ ద్వారా ఒక నూతన విద్యా విధానాన్ని జాతీయ విద్యా విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టింది. మరి దీంట్లో ఉండేటువంటి లాభాలేంటి, ప్రయోజనాలేంటి, ఈ దేశంలో ఉండేటువంటి ప్రజలకు విద్యార్థులకు ఏ మేరకు ప్రయోజనాన్ని చేకూర్స్తే, మరి దీన్ని జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం అనాలా లేకుంటే అంతర్జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం అనాలా అనేటువంటిది కూడా ఒక ముఖ్యమైనటువంటి ప్రశ్నగా మన ముందుంది. అంతర్జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం అంటేనే బాగుంటుంది అని చెప్పేసి నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. ఇంకోటి కార్పొరేట్ అనుగుణంగా ఉండేటువంటి విద్యా విధానమే అని చెప్పేసి నేను అనుకుంటున్నాను. కాబట్టి ఈ జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం కాదు అనేటువంటిదే నా భావన. అంటే కార్పొరేట్ సెక్టార్లకు, ప్రైవేట్ సెక్టార్లకు, పెట్టుబడిదారు వర్గాలకు అనుకూలంగా ఏర్పాటు చేసినటువంటి విద్యా విధానమే ఈ యొక్క జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం. ముఖ్యంగా ఈ విద్యా వాళ్ళు చెప్పినటువంటి ప్రధానమైనటువంటి అంశాలు 20 అంశాల్లో మార్పు తీసుకొచ్చారు. పాఠ్యాంశాన్ని తగ్గియాలని, విద్యార్థులు నైపుణ్యాన్ని వెలికి తీయాలనేటువంటిది ఒక మంచి కాన్సెప్ట్ తీసుకొచ్చారు. చాలా సంతోషం. అదేవిధంగా 5వ తరగతి వరకు మాతృభాషలోనే విద్యా బోధన జరగాలనేటువంటి ఇంకొక అంశం. ఇది కూడా చాలా మంచి విషయంగానే మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. ఉన్నత విద్యలో కూడా సంస్కృతాన్ని ఒక సబ్జెక్ట్ గా కూడా ప్రవేశపెట్టాలనేటువంటిది ఇంకొక అంశం. మరి ఇంతకు ముందు మనము విద్యా విధానం 10+2, 2+2, 3+ ఈ రకమైనటువంటి విజ్ఞానం ఉండేది. కానీ ఇప్పుడు 5+3+3+4 అనేటువంటి విద్యా విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టింది. దీంట్లో 3వ తరగతి 3 సంవత్సరాల నుండి 6 సంవత్సరాల వరకు ప్లే స్కూల్ మెథడ్ ను ప్రవేశపెట్టాలనేది జరిగింది. సరే, ఇది ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్లలో ఆల్రెడీ కొనసాగుతున్నటువంటి విద్యా విధానమే ప్లే స్కూల్ మెథడ్ అనే వాళ్ళు అంటున్నారు. 3వ తరగతి, 5వ తరగతి, 8వ తరగతుల్లో పరీక్షలు నిర్వహిస్తారనేటువంటిది ఈ యొక్క నూతన విద్యా విధానంలో చెప్పడం అనేటువంటిది జరిగింది. ఎందుకంటే విద్యార్థుల్లో ఉండేటువంటి టాలెంట్ ను కానీ, స్కిల్ ను కానీ పెంపొందించాలనేటువంటి ఒక మంచి ఆశయంతో పెట్టారని మనం అనుకుంటాం. బట్టి చదువులకు దూరంగా ఉండాలని చెప్పేసి ఈ యొక్క విద్యా విధానంలో చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. అంటే బట్టి చదువులకు దూరంగా ఉంచాలి. 6వ తరగతి తర్వాత వృత్తి విద్యా కోర్సులను తీసుకురావాలనేటువంటిది కూడా చాలా మంచి ఉద్దేశంతో ప్రవేశపెడుతూనే ఉన్నత విద్యా రంగం లోపల దేశ స్థాయిలో ఉండేటువంటి విశ్వవిద్యాలయాలకు అన్నిటికీ ఒకే ఎంట్రన్స్ విద్యా విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టాలనేటువంటిది కూడా ఒక గొప్ప సంకల్పంగానే మనం చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. దేశంలో ఉండేటువంటి యూనివర్సిటీలో కింద ఉన్నటువంటి సుమారుగా 45,000 కాలేజీలను ఒకే తాటి కిందకి తీసుకురావాలనేటువంటి విద్యను కూడా ఈ యొక్క నూతన జాతీయ విద్యా విధానంలో తీసుకొచ్చారు. సరే, ఇంతకుముందు డిగ్రీలో డ్రాప్ అవుట్ అయితే ఫెయిల్ గానే మనం చూసేవాళ్ళం. డిగ్రీ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ కానీ, సెకండ్ ఇయర్ కానీ, థర్డ్ ఇయర్ కానీ ఫెయిల్ అయితే ఫెయిల్ గానే చూపించాం. కానీ ఈ యొక్క నూతన విద్యా విధానం లోపల డిగ్రీ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ కానీ, సెకండ్ ఇయర్ కానీ తర్వాత డ్రాప్ అయితే డిప్లొమాగా సర్టిఫికేట్ ఇచ్చేటువంటి అవకాశాన్ని ఈ యొక్క విద్యా విధానంలో చూస్తూనే విద్య లోపల ఇంజనీరింగ్ వాళ్ళు ఆర్ట్స్ పోవచ్చు, ఆర్ట్స్ వాళ్ళు సైన్స్ పోవచ్చు, సైన్స్ వాళ్ళు ఇతర సబ్జెక్టులకు వెళ్ళిపోయేటువంటి ఒక మంచి అవకాశాన్ని కూడా కల్పించినట్టుగానే కనబడుతూనే ఎంఫిల్ ను పూర్తిగా రద్దు చేసినటువంటి అంశాన్ని ఈ సందర్భంగా మనం అందరం గుర్తు చేసుకోవాలి. అంటే ఎంఫిల్ అనేటువంటిది ఇక నుండి ఈ నూతన విద్యా సంవత్సరం లోపల ఉండదు అనేటువంటిది ఈ యొక్క నూతన విద్యా విధానం లోపల చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పుకుంటూనే పిహెచ్డి విద్యా విధానంలోకి డైరెక్ట్ గా అడ్మిషన్ ఇచ్చేటువంటి అవకాశాన్ని కల్పించింది ఈ యొక్క విద్యా విధానం. ఇది సాధ్యమా అనేటువంటిది ఒక ప్రశ్న మనం వేసుకోవాలి. ఎంపీలకే ఇక్కడ సీట్లు రావరా నాయనా అని మొత్తుకుంటూ ఉంటే యూనివర్సిటీ విద్యార్థులకు ఇప్పుడు డైరెక్ట్ గా పిహెచ్డిలోకే అడ్మిషన్ ఇస్తున్నారు అంటే దీన్ని ఎలా నమ్మాలి, మనం ఏ రకమైనటువంటి విద్యా వ్యవస్థ వైపు మనం పోతున్నాం అనేటువంటిది కూడా మనం ఆలోచించాలి. సరే, ఈ దేశం లోపల కొత్తగా ఇవ్వాలే జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం ఇవ్వాలే ప్రవేశపెట్టినది కాదు ఇది. మన దేశంలో 1968 సంవత్సరంలో మొట్టమొదటిసారిగా జాతీయ విద్యా విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టినటువంటి అంశము మనం గుర్తు చేసుకోవాలి ఈ సందర్భంగా. ఆ తర్వాత 1986 సంవత్సరంలో రాజీవ్ గాంధీ గారు ప్రైమ్ మినిస్టర్ గా ఉన్న సందర్భంలో పివి నరసింహారావు గారు అప్పుడు ఉమెన్ రిసోర్స్ డెవలప్మెంట్ మినిస్ట్రీగా దాన్ని మార్చేసి హెచ్ఆర్డి మినిస్ట్రీగా ఆయనను మినిస్టర్ చేసినటువంటి సందర్భాన్ని కూడా మనం తెలుసుకోవచ్చు. ఆ తర్వాత 1992 సంవత్సరంలో మూడోసారిగా జాతీయ విధానానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి విధానాన్ని ఏర్పాటు చేస్తారు. అంటే 1922 నుండి ఇప్పటి వరకు సుమారుగా 34 సంవత్సరాల తర్వాత ఈ యొక్క జాతీయ విద్యా విధానాన్ని తీసుకురావడం, అందులో 2016 మే 27వ తేదీన టిఎస్ఆర్ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం కమిటీని ఏర్పాటు చేశారు. ఆ తర్వాత 2019 సంవత్సరం మే 31వ తేదీన డాక్టర్ కస్తూరి రంగన్ గారి కమిటీని వేసి ఈ యొక్క నూతన విద్యా విధానాన్ని సంబంధించినటువంటి రిపోర్ట్ ను నివేదించమని చెప్పేసి కేంద్ర ప్రభుత్వం ఆదేశించడం, వారు ఈ కమిటీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి విషయాన్ని 2 రోజుల క్రితమే కేంద్ర కేబినెట్ కూర్చోవడం, ఆమోదించడం అనేటువంటిది కూడా జరిగింది. సరే, దీంట్లోపల చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పిందంటే విద్యారంగానికి జీడిపి లోపల 6% నిధులను కేటాయించాలని చెప్పేసి ఈ యొక్క రిపోర్ట్ లో చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పారు. ఇది సాధ్యమా అనేటువంటిది మనకు మనం వేసుకోవాల్సినటువంటి ప్రశ్న, ప్రభుత్వాన్ని కూడా వేయవలసినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. అంటే 6% నిధులను వీళ్ళు సమకూర్చగలరా? ఇప్పటి వరకు 2, 3, 4% పోవడమే చాలా గగనంగా కష్టంగా అవుతున్నటువంటి ఈ విద్యారంగాన్ని 6% విద్యారంగానికి నిధులను కేటాయించడం సాధ్యమవుతుందా అనేటువంటిది ఒక ప్రశ్న మన ముందుంది. సరే, విద్యను జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం కాదు, ఇది అంతర్జాతీయ విద్యా విధానము అనేటువంటిది చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పుకుంటూనే దీన్ని కార్పొరేట్ రంగానికి, ప్రైవేట్ సెక్టర్ కు ముందుకు తీసుకుపోయడానికి అవకాశాలు ఉన్నాయి. సరే, ఇంకోటి 5వ తరగతి వరకు మాతృభాషలోనే విద్యా బోధన జరగాలన్నారు. సరే, చాలా బాగుంది. కానీ ఏపీ, తెలంగాణ లాంటి, ముఖ్యంగా ఈ ముంబై గాని, ఢిల్లీలో గాని, ఈ యొక్క కలకత్తా లాంటి మహానగరాల లోపల ప్రైమరీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ 5th వరకు మాతృభాష అంటే ఏంటి? మరి మనము హైదరాబాద్ లో తీసుకుంటే ప్రపంచ నగరం అని చెప్పేసి ఒక దిక్కు చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటే, మరి ఈ ప్రపంచ నగరంలో మాతృభాష ఏ భాషను మాతృభాష అంటారు? తెలుగును అంటారా, ఉర్దూను అంటారా, ఇంగ్లీష్ను అంటారా, ఉర్దూను అంటారా, లేదా కన్నడను అంటారా? ఏ భాషను మాతృభాషగా ఇక్కడ ట్రీట్ చేయడానికి అవకాశాలు ఉంటాయి. తర్వాత ఈ మాతృభాషను ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్లకు అప్లై చేయగలరా మీరు? ప్రభుత్వాలే ఖచ్చితంగా ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్లలో సైతం దీన్ని మాతృభాష ప్రవేశపెట్టాలి అని చెప్పేసి మీరు చెప్పగలరా ప్రభుత్వం అంటే? అది చెప్పలేదు, దాన్ని పక్క పడేశారు. అంటే వీళ్ళు చెప్పినటువంటి ఈ నూతన జాతీయ విద్యా విధానం లోపల ప్రైవేట్ స్కూల్ రంగానికి, ప్రైవేటు రంగానికి, కార్పొరేట్ రంగానికి పెద్ద ఎత్తున ప్రోత్సాహకాన్ని, ఆ రంగాన్ని ప్రోత్సహిస్తూనే ప్రభుత్వ రంగాన్ని, ప్రభుత్వము తమ యొక్క బాధ్యతల నుండి తప్పించుకుంటూ ఇక ఇంకో చాలా గమ్మతైన విషయం చెప్పారంటే, ఇప్పటి నుండి టీచర్ల ఎంపిక విధానం లోపల మార్పులు తీసుకొస్తామని చెప్తున్నారు. విద్య లోపల మెరుగైనటువంటి మార్పులు తీసుకొస్తామని చెప్తున్నారు. చాలా మంచిది. అంటే ఇప్పటి వరకు టీచర్ల ఎంపిక విధానంలో సరిగా లేదనే కదా మీ ఉద్దేశం? అంటే టీచర్లు మంచిగా లేరనేటువంటిదే కదా, టీచర్లకు చదువు రాదనేదే కదా. సో అంటే ఇక నుండి టీచర్ల ఎంపిక విధానం లోపల మార్పులు తీసుకొస్తాం. ఏ రకమైనటువంటి మార్పులు తీసుకొస్తారు? సరే, ఉన్నటువంటి అసలు విద్యా విధానంలో మార్పు తీసుకురావాలంటే ప్రస్తుతానికి దేశంలో లక్షలాది మంది ఉపాధ్యాయ పోస్టులు ఖాళీగా ఉన్నాయి. అటు టీచర్లు కానీ, జూనియర్ కాలేజ్ లెక్చరర్ కానీ, డిగ్రీ కాలేజ్ లెక్చరర్స్ కానీ, యూనివర్సిటీలో లెక్చరర్స్ కానీ పూర్తిగా ఖాళీలు ఉన్నాయి. మీరు ఏ రకమైనటువంటి మెరుగైనటువంటి ఉన్నత విద్యా రంగాన్ని కానీ, ప్రాథమిక విద్య కానీ ఏ రకంగా ఉన్నతమైనటువంటి విద్యను అందించడానికి అవకాశాలు ఉన్నాయి? విద్యలో సమానత్వాన్ని ఏ రకంగా తీసుకొస్తారు? ఈ యొక్క విద్యా విధానం వల్ల విద్యార్థుల లోపల అసమానతలు అనేటువంటి పెరిగిపోతాయి. లేని వర్గం, ఉన్న వర్గం అనేటువంటిది ఏర్పడుతుంది. రిజర్వేషన్ సిస్టాన్ని ఈ విద్యారంగం లోపల, ఈ యొక్క నూతన విద్యా విధానం పాలసీ లోపల ఎక్కడ కూడా మీరు చూపించలేదు. అంటే రిజర్వేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంటుందా ఉండదా అనేటువంటిది చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్పలేదు. కాబట్టి మాలాంటి వాళ్ళు మేము అనుకుంటున్నాం అంటే రిజర్వేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ఇక ఈ జాతీయ విద్యా విధానంలో రిజర్వేషన్ అనేటువంటిది ఉంటుందా ఉండదు అనేటువంటి భావం కలిగించేటట్టు మీ యొక్క విద్యా విధానం ఉంది. హెచ్ఆర్డి మినిస్ట్రీ నుండి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మినిస్ట్రీ చేసినంత మార్పున దాంట్లో పెద్ద మార్పులు వస్తాయా అనేటువంటిది కూడా మనం ఆలోచించుకోవాల్సినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. ఇక విద్యార్థులు అన్ని సబ్జెక్ట్ లోపల పరిజ్ఞానాన్ని కలిగి ఉండాలని ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్ నుండి ఈ సబ్జెక్టుకు, ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ నుండి ఆ సబ్జెక్టుకు పోవాలని చెప్తున్నారు. కానీ కాదు, ఇది కార్పొరేట్ వర్గాలకు, కార్పొరేట్ సెక్టార్ కు అనుకూలంగా ఆ సబ్జెక్ట్ నుండి ఈ సబ్జెక్టుకు, ఈ సబ్జెక్ట్ నుండి ఆ సబ్జెక్టుకు అన్ని సబ్జెక్టులో పరిజ్ఞానం కలిగి ఉండాలి. అంటే ఒక వ్యక్తిని మేము ఎంపిక చేసుకుంటే వాడు ఊడ్చే దగ్గర నుండి మొదలుకుంటే కంప్యూటర్ కొట్టే వరకు అన్ని నాలెడ్జ్లు వానికి ఉండాలనేటువంటి ఒక ఉద్దేశంతో ఆ యొక్క విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెట్టారు తప్ప అన్ని సబ్జెక్టులో పరిజ్ఞానాన్ని కలిగి ఉండాలనేటువంటిది మాత్రం కాదు అనేటువంటిది నేను చెప్పదలుచుకున్నా. సరే, మాతృభాష అన్నప్పుడు మైనారిటీ స్కూల్స్ ఎటుపోతాయి, గిరిజన స్కూల్స్ ఎటుపోతాయి, ఈ మహానగరాల్లో ఉండేటువంటి స్కూళ్లకు మాతృభాష అంటే ఏది చెప్తారు అనేటువంటిది మీరు చెప్పవలసినటువంటి అవసరం ఉంది. ఇక ఇంకొకటి, యూజీసీ కానీ, ఏఐసిటి కానీ, ఎన్సిటి కానీ ఇవన్నిటిని ఒకే గడుపు కిందికి తీసుకొస్తామని చెప్పేసి ఈ నూతన విద్యా విధానంలో చెప్పారు. సరే, దీని మీద ఏ రకంగా తీసుకొస్తారో చూడాలి. ఇక డిగ్రీని 3 సంవత్సరాల కోర్సును తీసేసి దానికి 4 సంవత్సరాలుగా తీసుకొస్తున్నారు. డ్రాప్ అవుట్స్ అనేటువంటి ఉండవని చెప్పేసి డిప్లొమా సర్టిఫికేట్ ఇస్తామని చెప్పారు. ఇట్లాగే ఇంకోటి చెప్పారు, సంవత్సరంలో 2 సార్లు పరీక్ష విధానాన్ని ప్రవేశపెడతామని చెప్పేశారు. ఈ విద్యా విధానం అంతా కూడా కమర్షియల్ విద్యా విధానము, ప్రాఫిట్ విద్యా విధానము, కరప్షన్ విద్యా విధానంగానే చూడవచ్చు అనేటువంటిది నా భావన. ఈ యొక్క అంశం పైన విద్యారంగంలో నూతన ధోరణులు అనేటువంటి అంశం పైన ప్రొఫెసర్ సి నగేష్ గారు, వారు డైరెక్టర్ యూనివర్సిటీ గ్రాంట్స్ కమిషన్ అండ్ హెచ్ఆర్డి సెంటర్ ఉస్మానియా యూనివర్సిటీ హైదరాబాద్ లో వారు ప్రొఫెసర్ గా పనిచేస్తున్నారు. వారి అంశం మీద మాట్లాడవలసిందిగా ప్రొఫెసర్ సి నగేష్ గారిని వారిని ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నారు. సార్, ప్రొఫెసర్ సి నగేష్ గారు, సార్ ప్లీజ్.
Sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir, professor. Please unmute yourself.
సార్, అందరికీ నమస్కారం అండి. నాకు ఈ అవకాశం ఇచ్చినందుకు టి రామారావు గారికి కానీ, నా మిత్రుడు ఆత్మీయుడు మనోజ్ రెడ్డి తనకు కూడా ధన్యవాదాలు. ఫ్రెండ్స్, యాక్చువల్లీ నేను రామారావు సార్తో మాట్లాడినప్పుడు బేసికలీ నేను పక్కా హైదరాబాదీ, నా స్కూలింగ్ కేంద్రీయ విద్యాలయ. మీరు అందరు పర్మిషన్ ఇస్తే నా ప్రెజెంటేషన్, నాకు ఒక ఐ హ్యావ్ ప్రిపేర్డ్ వన్ ప్రెజెంటేషన్ పిపిటి. సో ఐ విల్ బి expressing my views through my PPT. Sir, is it okay, sir?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, number 1. Number 2, what is the time, up to what time shall I continue? How much time?
You can speak up to 1 hour, please.
1 hour. Okay, thank you. So friends, at the outset, I thank you all for inviting me to this important webinar. I would say
Hello, there is a problem with you, I think, sir.
As our sir was saying, yes, sir, there are lot of in terms of gross enrollment ratio, and then the new education policy. So here I'll be sharing my, sir, can you please enable the screen sharing for me, sir?
I'll do that.
Screen sharing enable, sir.
Yeah, it is done.
Yes, sir. No, it is disabled, it is saying, sir. Host disabled participant screen sharing, sir. It is not showing, sir. It is showing host disabled participant screen sharing.
No, వచ్చిందండి.
రాలేదు sir. No, here it is not coming, sir. It is saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
One second. No, it is, nothing is there. Here is nothing.
Okay, till it enables, I'll continue, sir, because already
Yeah,
for
sure.
3 minutes are over. Yeah. So, friends, as we all know that the COVID-19 situation has really created an uncertainty across the globe, and we have experienced the kind of pain and agony the people have been going through, and especially the migrant laborers and the women, because we have been seeing that there has been more than 100% increasing in gender violence during this pandemic period. But if you see the situation across the globe, we find that the employment opportunities and the schooling or the education system has affected a lot apart from the other sectors. So when we go for the last 3 months scenario, everyone was actually clueless what was happening. One, because the when it occurred in 2019 November at China, there was no communication or no information and misinformation from China, which has really created a lot of problem to the entire globe. And two, the lockdown, which was implemented haphazardly, what I personally feel. Sir, whatever I'm expressing is my personal views. So the haphazard implementation by the center of lockdown has really created all sorts of problems to each and every person across the country. I hope everyone will migrant laborers as well as the the in form of cash and kind, that is rice, whatever they were giving, that was not sufficient. And ultimately, the people had to walk for thousands of kilometers to reach their home places. You just imagine the kind of agony, the pain, and the in the situation where they were forced to move out, and the non-support by the governments has really created what you call inhumanity in the country. So if we see the education system, it was the crucial phase. March was the crucial phase of the education system in India. Just a matter of, I would say, another week and through the grading system, they have been passed. So how far it is justified is always a questionable, because in the interest of the student, the government has taken the apt decision that everyone has supported, because the future is important. The future generation is important. And that is what, keeping in mind, the Telangana government has taken a valid and justified decision. But as the time passed and there was a sudden shift in the education system, till March, even the government was contemplating to take and asking teachers, professors to go for online teaching. I would say most of 90% of them were reluctant. But the COVID situation has flipped it. It has turned the tables. And you might have seen that majority of the well-to-do, I would say well-to-do schools and colleges, basically the private schools, private colleges and private universities, have went ahead and are going ahead with the online classes. Now, if we take the case of the situation in the universities and basically in the government universities and government schools, is it possible, is the biggest question mark. Because as per the statistics, 85% of the population of India have the mobile phones, and most of them have the smartphones. Now, having the smartphones is not the sole criteria to go for online examinations. If we take here the question of what you call this situation which has created over a period of time, people have shifted to what we call Google classrooms, Google forms, quizzes, whiteboard, PPTs, and even the PDF formats to give the what you call the lectures, or the kind of we say the notes to the students. But I don't think that any state university should be lagged behind because of these what you call the lack of facilities in terms of what you call the uh, digital scenario. So when we see the situation in the terms of online, the picture is promising, because the people who are taking online classes, yes, they are benefiting, they are saving the time. But what about the students who are out of the class? Here, what I mean out of the class means out of the online class. When we divide here into two aspects, one is digital drive and other is non-digital or undigital, we can say, or we can say the digital divide. When we talk about the digital drive, you have the smartphones, you have the laptops, you have tabs, you have desktops, you have 4G what you call connectivity, you have uninterrupted internet connection through the Wi-Fi or through the private agencies or the BSNL, whatever is there, you get it. And you have DTH, direct to, if you have a TV, you have DTH, direct to home channels, or through cable channels or dish TVs. These are all the digital drive, what I personally feel. But what about the people who are out of this digital ambit? And what about the public institutes which do not even have a single computer in a school or a college? And what about the marginal sections? The affluent can have or go for digital drive, but what about the marginal sections who are not even having what you call, who are entirely dependent on the government's support through scholarship? If you go for the government schools, the midday meal scheme.
Professor Nagesh,
Yes, sir.
one minute.
Sir.
Can you mail your PPT so that I can share it? I think there is a problem from your end.
My end, sir. Okay,
Yeah.
shall I log out and log in, sir, again?
No, not necessary because.
Not necessary. Sir, just tell me your this thing, sir.
I'll mail it to you. I'll just text it to you now.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Carry on. You please carry on.
Yes, I'm going, sir. So here, the digital divide which we have been talking, what about the marginal sections who have been out of the class? So for one simple example, I'll let you know here that a school in Hyderabad, I'm saying about a CBSE school, basically they are from the government, what do you call, employees. Majority, 80% of them belong to the government employees. And the 20% belong to the, I mean, they come under the Right to Education Act. But when a class is going on, suppose if 50 students of a class, only 25 people or students are attending the class. So how do we address this? The people who are living in urban areas, a city like urban area, Hyderabad, they are 50% of the students are out of the class. That we need to think over. And if you see the role of public institutions, that has to be overhauled, I would say, because the situation which has been created over a period of time, or the negligence across the country and demeaning the universities and public institution, have really have created a cause of concern for the teaching community. And here, if you see the marginal communities which have,
I think now you can share it, Professor.
I can, sir.
Yeah.
Just a second, sir. Yes, sir. It is coming, sir. Is it visible, sir? Hello.
You did not share yet. Did you share?
Yes, sir. I have shared it, sir.
No, it's not.
Okay. Has it come, sir?
No. It did not.
No, screen share has failed to start. Please try again. It is telling, sir.
It is come.
It has come, sir?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So here, just a second, sir. Yes, sir. So when we talk about, I hope you are seeing these challenges, sir. Hello?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. So the challenges which the COVID-19 has created, you can see here. So the digital drive, which I have been saying that these are the affluent sections which can have, all these things, and they are going ahead. When we talk about the digital divide, the no digital device, public institution and marginal societies, they have been on the edge of the society. They have been always through. And now, as our Srinivasa was saying, what about the communities, lower section communities, which are going to be phased out? Are they going to be phased out? Are the reservation issue itself is going to be out? I mean, it is to be removed. Now, what are the major changes expected in education sector post COVID-19? Because if you see, the people knowingly or unknowingly, they have actually I mean turned into online by themselves without even thinking what would be its repercussions and what would be its problems. And here the changes we expect in this system is blended learning. It will definitely become a reality, and even in NEP they are favor of this learning, because how some credits from online and the rest will be offline. So as of now it is a 30-70 ratio. I don't know by 2040 what will be the situation as per the new education policy. Training of teachers will be qualitatively different. Now those who are dependent mainly on chalk and board, now they will be made to learn through online system, and their training has to be given, and I don't know how it is going to happen. And we see that use of artificial intelligence will be help personalize the learning experience for every child. So artificial, we are instead of humans, they are trying to go for artificial intelligence, like no class, no teacher in the classroom, all through online or through digital mode. And when this happens, the role of teachers will need to be redefined. They will be a facilitator rather than an educator. That is the situation which is to happen. And then the technology which is used to be effectively used to reduce the time spent by teacher on tasks like paper setting, evaluating, grading. No, this is definitely does not reduce the time as we are saying here, because it will take more time rather on online and causing many health related problems which many of the senior teachers have experienced in online evaluating system. I'm not saying that it is not good, but it has its own negative effects. So interactivity engagement in physical classroom will have to be built into the online learning programs to keep students engaged. Now here the question arises is, for how long you are going to make students to go for online classes, and what is the screen sharing time of the students, and what are the health repercussions on this screen sharing time of the students. These are very challenging aspects, and these things need to be addressed properly. And we have seen in newspapers and even in electronic media the problems which the children are facing due to the online classes. And the most atrocious is that some of the schools, even for the kindergarten, preschool, they are going for online. This is absolutely we need to condemn, because at the tender age of not even less than 5 years, you are making them to exposed to radiation and to the screen which is more harmful to their eyes. And then social distancing principle will have to be incorporated. I think I don't agree with this, because already there is even in assembly or in even classes there is a pattern of social distancing or pattern of sitting where people will be at a distance apart, maintaining the physical distance. So this incorporation in times of COVID really has to be taken up. So this is what I personally feel. But whatever we have said and whatever is done, uh, what I personally is that it is a life and death situation for everyone, because no one is immune to COVID. It is very clear. And it is our responsibility to protect the future. And what I personally feel is that a little bit delay in academic schedule should not matter us so much, because we can definitely compensate this delay through the bridge courses by reducing the syllabus and by making the, or I would say by reducing the holidays, because in India we have too many holidays. In the wake of extraordinary situation, we need to cut these holidays and try to make students learn the things which they have missed during certain period of time. And this, apart from this, the writing of examination, that is the what you call, I would say, the block which we have in our minds need to be removed. The examinations are not the ultimate. They have to be made in a such a way that it should be flexible and it should be easy. The rot which we make them to write at the end of the year is not the sole criteria for the what you call the examining the students' ability. Now coming to the our second aspect is what actually our education system was and what actually is. When we take about the education system in ancient times, it was the Gurukulas, which was basically more close to nature and open system, and it was a oral system of education where they used to recite, and above that it was skill based. If you take the ancient system of village situation, it was more of occupational skill based rather than unskilled. But if you take the present modern situation, we can say this to the British, through the British era, because the Britishers have systematically destroyed our Indian education system, number one, and they have brought English as the medium of what you call instruction in many parts. And with this, a new generation or a new class known as middle class has emerged, and this middle class or the what you call English as a medium of instruction has brought in lot of changes in education system across the country throughout the I would like to say the pre and post independence period. And unfortunately we have and we are still following the British system of education only. And the system which we see, these are the closed environment. The a college is built with a 4 or 5 classroom, and 400 or 500 people are will be intake will be there, and there will be in one class 100 people will be there. So what kind of environment we are giving for the student in the modern system of education is the biggest question. And as I said earlier, the written and written examination oriented, because at the end we are just trying to test their memory but not the skill. That is what the modern system is taking place. And as we said, it is not skill based. Even in engineering college, we have seen that there was a study, or in newspapers there was an article where people doing engineering and MBA and other higher education, PG courses, UG and PG courses, they are either driving autos, or they are doing as peons, or they are doing as some class 4 employees, etc. When you want to go for those jobs, menial jobs, why you are wasting the exchequer of the government? For a attender, you don't need to be a PG or a engineering graduate. If an engineer is well trained and he has the skills and ability, he will be employed anywhere. We are not concentrating on the employability of the students, rather than we are concentrating on generating income from the private institutes. This is what I personally feel. So if you see the evolution of education policy in India, right from 1948-49 under the Nehru and Zakir Hussain, these were the University Education System Commission, and then after that 4 or 5 years we had a Secondary Education Commission, then Dr. D.S. Khotari Commission, which was somewhat meaningful. Then came the 1968 National Education Policy, which was amended under the 42nd Constitutional Amendment and brought the education system into concurrent list. And then it was the last, I would say, in 1986, the national education policy which has come. And again, this year, last week, they have, released this Kasturi Rangan new national education policy after a gap of 34 years. And this gap has really, is a very big, because when we take the globalization era in the during 90s and to date, it is 30 years. And there has been lot of changes which we have seen. Knowingly or unknowingly, we have adopted ourselves to digital by buying computers, by buying laptops, by buying the smartphones, etc. So here, the transformation unknowingly has happened, but the acceptance to digital mode of learning was not there. So if you see, the digital mode of learning was there by the government, central government, since 2008, and before that only through UGC CEC programs, Swayam Prabha program, Diksha, and EPG Pathshala, etc. They were there since 2008, 9, or before that, 10 years before only. But no one bothered about that. But suddenly, when COVID has come, everyone has turned into these portals. So this really raises a question about human nature and human behavioral pattern. So here, when we talk about the gross enrollment ratios of across the country, I have taken here about 2015-16, the latest one, which is given by the data.gov.in, Government of India. And I have taken only the average, which are more than the all India ratio. And if you see, the target was about above 100% of the total ratio of the students in higher education. I'm talking about only higher secondary basis only, that is up to 8, 9, 10, because below that they have more than 100%. But when it comes to this higher secondary education gross enrollment ratio, we see that not all the states are in this ratio. And if you take our Telangana, it stands at 17th position with 61.32 gross enrollment ratio. Now, this is the biggest challenge for the state government of Telangana to bring all the students under the ambit of higher secondary ratio with 100% of GER. Now, if you see the higher education scenario here, the average age is between 18 to 23. And in the year 2018-19, it was 26.3% only, with a marginal increase of 2.2% from 2014-15. So if we see that, if you see the national education policy, the education, the NEP says that by 2040, 50% of 35, I would say, rather 35, 2035, 50% of the gross enrollment ratio should be there in higher education. I really doubt that, because another 20 years, how it is going to be achieved, because we are only halfway mark. And if you see the what do you call the state higher education scenario, it has been slightly increased with 2% over the period. And here, the when we talk about the marginalized communities in the higher education, yes, definitely it has increased marginally over the period. And I'm happy that even Telangana is one of the state which has higher gross enrollment ratio compared to many of the states, with 36.2% of the total GER in higher education. And the what we call the well-to-do states and with more population, like Gujarat, West Bengal, and UP, they are very much lying below the national average. So how do these create or show us the scenario of higher education or the education in entire country? So if you take about the male and female ratio, gross enrollment ratio, the females when we see the female gross enrollment ratio in compared to schools and colleges, in schools it is less than males, but when it coming to higher education, the females are faring better with 1%, 0.1%. And over a period of time, the cumulative factor, it will definitely, maybe another 5 to 10 years, females will be grading more compared to the male. And this may be attributed to what you call various aspects, because male, they will be going for job opportunities, or they'll be taking care of the responsibilities of their family and all such things. It is one of the factors which is making, or which is what you call becoming a deterrent for the male students to go into the higher education. That is one aspect. And the other aspect is that even the what you call the female students, they are faring better. They are learning, I mean, they are showing more interest in going for higher education compared to the male, which we see through this PPT. And here if you see, there is a negative gross enrollment ratio during 1819, even in Telangana. You see, the Telangana has good literacy rate, and Kerala has the highest literacy rate. But these two states, they are showing a decline in higher education among the what you call the uh, male population. So yeah, this you can see the change in the situation of male and female states and union territories across the country. So here we need to understand one thing: what is the present situation of education in India, both schooling and the higher education, and the changing situation as we have discussed during the period of COVID, how the private universities, private schools, and private colleges have shifted to online mode. And some of the private universities, they have even conducted the examinations online, and they have moved the student to the next class. But here, when it comes to the government institutions, maybe government colleges, as I would say government schools, government colleges, and government universities, where do they stand? Where do they fare on par when we compare with the private institutes? This is the biggest challenge to the governments and government institutes, I would rather say, in the coming another decade or so. Because until unless the government does not support the state funded schools, colleges, it is really difficult for the government institutes to survive with the competition of the private institutes. And with the new education policy which has come, it has opened the Pandora's box, because even the foreign universities can come and establish their university in any part of the country. And I would say, rather say that this is a kind of tricky issue for many states, because if you take Telangana, which we always we have boosted, and it is as a cosmopolitan city or a global city, and even the National Geographic Channel has given it as the one of the safest and best cities in the world. Definitely the best universities of the world will come and establish their institutes here, because the pro policies of the present government, and the policies which are, I would say, that they give the more scope for betterment of the region by establishing the world renowned universities in the region, and the vis-a-vis the role of the government institutes which are always already existing in the present situation. What about the state universities? So these have to be addressed very seriously, what I personally see, personally think. So when we come to the new education policy, what actually we have say, many have read and many have seen the through the policy which was released by the government of India. But what I personally feel is that we will go for a critical analysis of all the the reforms which they wanted to bring in. So as of now, we could say that it is the Union Cabinet which has approved the new national policy. I think it, not I think it is almost all 34 years, but it is to be what you mainly meant to overreaching the vision and comprehensive framework for both school and higher education across the country. And it is approved by the cabinet, but not approved by the parliament. And it is not presented actually. They have to be debated in the parliament, then they will go for the act, what I personally feel. It is generally the process which it takes. So this is the first of its kind for the BJP government, though it was earlier there in 97, 98, but it could not bring out. But it has brought out with some comprehensive education policy, which were, I think, there during earlier periods also. But what I personally feel, it is nothing but a old wine in a new bottle, and giving more edge to the private players, and giving a competitive nature for the or existing, even the existing of government universities is very crucial. So when we take about the first one, universalization of early child care education, which is, as we call it as ECCE. So here, this universalization of early care means they want to uh, bring in the students, or I would say that children from the age of as early as 3 years. So which they are calling as preschool, which we call it as KG, or in if it is in a slum or other areas, we call it as Anganwadis. So which are already there, what I personally feel is, but they want to bring in about 2 crores of students who are out of the classroom in one way or the other. So here the ECCE is, I mean, the aspect is to bring in the early childhood care into the education stream, and also try to their plan is to make parents aware of these early childhood care, because it is the tender age where they try to learn more things, because they are not worried about the failures. That is the main aspect. So, and they wanted to bring in the national mission on foundation literacy and numeracy. I think national literacy commission mission was already there, and we had to see what actually they want to bring in. That is a biggest thing. But as far as the NEP, it says that it is a free breakfast, including the midday meal, which they want to include, and they want to bring in a change in what you call the gross enrollment ratio. And when it comes to the 5+3+3+4 curricular and pedagogical structure, as we said, that preschool to +3, that is up to first, second, and then the sixth class, sixth to eighth, and fifth class, fifth to eighth, and eighth to 12th. And when a child is at sixth class, they are contemplating to introduce the vocational skills and vocational education along with the internships, and they want to redesign of the board examination, which they want to make it is into a pedagogical structure into the they want to bring into that. So how far it is possible is very important, because they are saying that up to sixth class we need to, I mean, they can go for regional language or mother tongue or any this thing. So what is the basic idea behind this, we have to discuss, because as our Srinivas sir was saying, that cosmopolitan cities and the metropolitan cities which are there, they are the representation of the world communities. And a person who is coming from suppose he is from Maharashtra, or he is from Kerala or Karnataka, studying in Hyderabad, which is Telugu, suppose let us say Telugu is not the mother tongue of a person of Karnataka, or a person from Kerala or Bengal. Because when you see the demographic profile of Hyderabad, there are many Bengalis, there are many Karnataka, there are many Maharashtrians, there are many Biharis. So these things we need to take into consideration about going for mother tongue language. And there is also a clause that it is up to the state. What does it mean? Yes, the state government it comes under concurrent list. It is for the states to implement it or not. Yes, if the state government wants, it will implement up to in government schools up to 6th. But what about the private institutes? So where is the rationality in this is the biggest question. And the semester, the what you call the 2 terms semester system in school education, I think it is in my view it is good, because instead of having at the end of the 1 year examination and putting pressure on the child, the 6 months examination will definitely bring down the pressure on child, and there is a scope to improvisation, the scope for improvisation in his academics. And the concept of vocational skills definitely to some extent, I would say, to some extent will bring in the creativity of the students, because not all may not be on the same platform. The thinking levels and the output levels may be different, and a brilliant boy cannot be it is not sure that he will be skilled. And a average student, he may be very skillful in some sort of this thing. So here we need to assess the students, and we need to make them, or I would say that it's a kind of a division within from 6th class itself about the students into the skilled and unskilled, what I personally feel. So here we see the curriculum to integrate 21st century skills, mathematical thinking and scientific temper. I think with the onset of the mobile phones, the Z generation, which we call, because the YZ generation, they are more what you call uh, tech savvy compared to what our generation is, because the kind of knowledge we gained and the kind of knowledge they have, it is totally different. There is lots of information on internet. A teacher need not tell that he only knows and no one knows. That is not the situation here in the present condition. The students have, I'm extremely sorry, the students have enormous information. As I said, it is the teacher will become a facilitator to guide them the kind of information into knowledge, to transform information into knowledge. And here they have as I said, the rigid there is no rigid separation between arts, sciences, and between curricular and extracurricular activities. I think it is a welcome move, because there has been always a discrimination between arts and science students. I hope many have have gone through this, faced through this, because during our, I'm giving my own example. During our time, during 90s, when we were doing UG, when I say BA, they used to, society itself used to take it easy. He's of no use. He won't read well. That's why he is into BA, and that was the societal perception towards education. And many, I would say, even today, many parents do not know about the future about the prospects of science, social sciences and humanities. They still lack that. It is the parents perception which is making the students to go for only sciences, that is the either by PC or the MPC, and then ultimately either IIT or to the medical education. And I would definitely submit here that once, if the student is not into either engineering or to the what you call medicine, they do not have any plan. They do not know what to do, what course to do. That is where they end up. So here we need to appraise about the equal importance of all the subjects. Then coming to the gender inclusion, education of gifted children, that is for what we call, usually we call it as physically or mentally challenged, and for them also they have given a kind of scope for to go for digital, because when you go for digital education, what about the people who are blind? No, yes, they have their braille laptops, etc., but how far it is going to replace their way of teaching. So then coming to the next aspect, the curriculum framework which they have given, it is a continuous education for teachers and a challenging task for students, because parents do not know after 6th or after 8th what subjects to be taken, major and minor, what subject is major, what subject is minor. This will definitely create a lot of confusion for the parents as well as the students, that we need to seriously give a thought to it. And the concept of a board examination has been reduced because they are contemplating for after 12 common entrance test for all universities for undergraduate and postgraduate. This we need to be taken. So here the outcome of the students tracking has to be done, but is there any mechanism is the biggest question. And they have sent that national assessment center for all, both private and public institutes, keeping the into the same domain, and the NTA to offer common entrance exam for admission to higher education institutes. NTA is nothing but national testing agency, which conducts both NEET and what you call the net examination and other higher education examinations, and this has been created because earlier these were taken care by the AICT and UGC, but now the NTA is taking care of all those things. So here, the kind of which they have given are really ambitious, I would say, and on real ground reality, we need to take care. So here, in higher education, what they want is that 50% gross enrollment ratio by 2035. So the question mark is it possible? Now, as we said, around we are saying 2019, it is only 26. Is it possible? So are they going to introduce, are they going to give new central universities or new universities to the state governments? Are they going to fund the state governments in enhancing the gross enrollment ratio through intake of the students, through scholarships, through other means? I would say that fellowships, etc. Or what, as they said, that they are going to bring in the standalone educational institutes into multidisciplinary. So if that happens, let us say the NITs or IITs, what percent they are going to increase the percentage of enrollment ratio into these? Now IITs and NITs, they are purely standalone institutes which are basically catered to the needs of higher education, needs of engineering and technology. And now if you are going to introduce the arts, sciences and social sciences, commerce and management into these higher education institutes of IITs, NITs and IIMs, etc., how much percentage of enrollment ratio will be there annually is the biggest question. What is the employment ratio? And what is the employability of these people is the biggest question mark we need to talk about. So here there is, as I said, multidisciplinary education or flexibility in subject. As we said, multiple entry or exit. UG program, if it is 3 or 4 years, if he wants to exit in the after first year, as our Srinivas sir was saying, that instead of discontinuity, they will give them the basic certificate. If it is 2 years, it will be diploma. If it is 3 years, it is a degree, advanced degree. And if it is a 4 years, it is a complete degree. And it's similarly coming to the higher education, that is to PG courses. As of now, it is 2 years. And if you going for 1 year, it will be PG diploma. And for 2 years, it is a complete PG program. And the integrated, as we have seen already, many colleges, universities which have introduced this integrated, they have faced a difficult challenge. A university like Central University of Hyderabad has, because it has introduced integrated course in economics, it too has faced its own challenges in continuing the course. And the next thing, they are giving a clause of either 5-year integrated bachelor or masters. After 3 years, the candidate can opt out of the 5 years course. So what is the, I don't understand the meaning of integrated. So when he is opting out of this 5 years course, means he is getting only basic degree, for which you need not to spend so much of money on him. So these things need to be addressed. The MPhil to be discontinued. MPhil has been a major debatable issue since many years. But here, the MPhil was a bridge course between the PG and PhD. And now a direct PG student, I think after a gap of 1 year, as of now, the rule says, after a gap of 1 year, there will be a entrance test for PhD, and through that PhD, he will be enrolled. And if a person clears JRF through CSIR or UGC without any time gap, he will be joined into the PhD programs. So these are all need to be addressed at various platforms, which are very crucial for the growth of, for the development of higher education in India. And then the credit transfer and academic banks of credits. So here, this is one of the crucial aspects, because the people, he will go for some online course with some university, and he will be doing online course, let us say Usmania University, and then he will have a credit bank, and he will claim that online course to his ongoing ongoing course at Usmania University. Now the question is, how do we make it compatible? How we are going to make it equitable? Equivalence of the course is the biggest question. And when it comes to research intensive and research in universities and autonomous college in granting these things, as our sir said, they are contemplating to go for 6% of the total what you call our GDP. I hardly, I mean, doubt this 6% of GDP coming to the higher education or the education sector, because it is really I would say that challenging task for the governments. So here, multidisciplinary education, and as they say, Meru, this it is yet to be made out of how it is going to happen. And here the biggest challenge for the existing colleges, I would say, phasing out affiliation system in 15 years. By 2035, there will not be any affiliation system in any universities across India. So if the affiliation goes, because today whatever the universities, state universities, they are there, to some extent financially they are dependent upon on the affiliation of the colleges. And if that goes, what will happen to the universities? Because today, because due to the situation, there are many universities which are entirely dependent on the government for even paying the salaries. So that affiliation goes, where do these government institutes stand is the biggest question. And here, as they said, if you read the NEP, they say that the either the phasing out is due to either they have to be constituent colleges of a university, or they have to be autonomous. So if they are going for autonomous, they have to go through the national accreditation system. And if they go with that, they have certain standard guidelines. And if they don't fall into those guidelines, they are out of the system. And the students who are enrolled in that, what is their fate is the biggest question mark. So actually, when we have seen the role of private universities, here they are saying that it should be a partnership, private philanthropic partnership. This is, I think, more of a doubtable question, because we cannot, I would say, we cannot, or the private universities will never collaborate with the public institutes, because they have their own way of functioning. That is what I personally feel. So apart from that, we have the National Research Foundation, which they have given, and these need to be, because already we have funding agencies. We were having funding agencies like UGC, ICSSR, and DST, CSR, etc. But they want to bring everyone into one umbrella, and they want to make it into one aspect by I mean, what you call HE Higher Education Commission of India. So as we all know that the MHRD has been named as to Ministry of Education, the nomenclature does not do anything. Because you call it a MHRD or Education Ministry, there is no nothing, there is no difference actually, what I personally feel, because it has nothing to do. But what is the outcome? Outcome is very important. What outcome you are showing? Because whatever are there, you have just changed the nomenclature and you have just tried to make it more look moderate, and you try to more look bring into the aspects which the SDG 4 that is Sustainable Development Goals of 4, with secondary education and higher education target we want to. Because earlier under the Millennium Development Goals, we try to enhance the livelihood and education system and economy of the people through various schemes. Now you want the under the SDG 4, you want to bring right from the preschool to the PG education here to the, so 100% GRE in preschool is a very doubtable question in many parts, because the different states have different economic conditions, and that is very questionable. And what I personally see here is we need in this time of crisis, we need to have a well-rounded and effective educational practice which to build the capacity building of young minds. And then comes the employability. As I have been saying, every government is concentrating on the employability of the young generation. So if we develop the skills, it will definitely drive the employability, productivity, and health and well-being in the future, and bringing an overall progress. So a multi-pronged strategy is necessary to manage the crisis and build a resilient Indian education system in the long run. That is very important, because the education policy which they have given, it has to be very multi-pronged, because of the fabric of society which we have and the conditions of the states which are there, they have to be taken into consideration for the long run of the education system in India. So we need to evolve strategies and demand supply trends across the globe, because as we see that many of our students are going abroad for higher studies to improve their quality. So here what I personally feel is that uh, we need to have a holistic approach to the new education policy and the practical problems which are involved in it. The amount, the funding pattern, the funds to be given to the state governments to implement the different stages of education system is really a very big question. Sir, I think with this I'll stop here, and I hope I have done in 1 hour which was given to me. Thank you, and I'm ready for any questions, sir.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నాగేష్ గారు.
సార్,
1-2 నిమిషాల సమయం పాటు ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నాగేష్ గారు విద్యారంగంలో నూతన ధోరణులు అనేటువంటి అంశం మీద చాలా విషయాలు, భారతదేశంలో విద్యా విధానము ఎప్పుడు ప్రారంభమైంది, ముఖ్యంగా గురుకుల విద్యాలయం దగ్గర నుండి నేటి నూతన విద్యా విధానం వరకు, నేటి డాక్టర్ కస్తూరి రంగన్ న్యూ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాలసీలో చూపెట్టినటువంటి అంశాలను, చాలా విషయాలను మన ముందు ఉంచారు, వాళ్ళు విశ్లేషించారు. ప్రధానంగా మాతృభాషలో విద్యా విధానం 5వ తరగతి వరకు మాతృభాషలో పెట్టడం అనేటువంటిది ఎలా సాధ్యమవుతుంది, ముఖ్యంగా మెట్రోపాలిటన్ సిటీస్ లోపల హైదరాబాద్ కానీ, ఢిల్లీ కానీ, ముంబై కానీ ఇలాంటి నగరాల లోపల ఎలా సాధ్యమవుతుంది, మరి ఇది ఒక ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్ళలో సాధ్యం కాదు కదా, పబ్లిక్ స్కూళ్ళలోనే అంటే గవర్నమెంట్ స్కూళ్ళలోనే ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేస్తారు, కానీ ప్రైవేట్ స్కూళ్ళ సంగతి ఏంటి, దాన్ని ఎవరు అదుపు చేయాలి ఏంటి అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని కూడా ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నగేష్ గారు మన ముందు ఉంచారు. అదే విధంగా చాలా విషయాలు ఇప్పుడు కేవలం హెచ్ఆర్డి నుండి దాన్ని విద్యా శాఖకు మార్చడం వల్ల వచ్చేటువంటి ప్రయోజనం ఏంటి, కొత్త ప్రయోజనం ఏంటి, లాభాలు ఏంటి అనేటువంటిది, దానివల్ల కావాల్సినటువంటి కొత్త విషయాలు అనేటువంటివి కావాలి అనేటువంటిది కూడా అనేటువంటి విషయాలు, చాలా విషయాలు ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నగేష్ గారు తెలియజెప్పారు. వారికి ముఖ్యంగా ఇంకా 6% జీడిపిలో 6% నేను ప్రవేశపెట్టాలనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని కూడా వారు తెలియజేస్తూ, ఇది ఎలా సాధ్యమవుతుంది అనేటువంటిది కూడా నగేష్ గారు వారి యొక్క విశ్లేషణలో తెలియజెప్పారు. వారికి మా తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక తరఫున ప్రత్యేకమైనటువంటి ధన్యవాదాలు సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వన్స్ అగైన్ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఇప్పుడు స్వాతి మిశ్రా మేడం, స్వాతి మిశ్రా, స్వాతి మిశ్రా, యా స్వాతి మిశ్రా,
Hello.
unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead madam, please. Yeah, please.
Okay, sir, my question is that. Hello.
Yeah, continue madam, please.
Yeah, my question is that why do you feel that National 2020 is more about private?
Madam, your audio problem.
If the professor can answer me, why NEP 2020 is considered about the private education and not convenient for public education?
సార్ నగేష్ సార్ మాట్లాడతారా సార్? నగేష్ సార్, సార్ నగేష్ సార్, శ్రీనగేష్ సార్, ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు సార్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి మీరు. శ్రీనగేష్ గారు
సార్ వచ్చిందా సార్?
హలో. ఓకే.
Yeah.
ప్లీజ్ సార్, ప్లీజ్.
Yeah, I could I will answer your question, because if you see the target of gross enrollment ratio of 50%, okay, in 70 years we could able to achieve only 26% of the gross enrollment ratio into higher education. Okay, now in another 15 years we are targeting about another 24, which is near to the double of what it is. It was there in 2019, 18, 19, what I see. Okay, without private players, I would say here, without private players, the achieving of this target is impossible. And the opening of private foreign universities into India is an indication. Okay, I am not averse to the private universities or education, because instead of our own people going to abroad, the people will be here only and our money will be saved. That is the primary idea of this NEP, because many of the, if you see the national international data, Indians are the second largest migrants in terms of education, only after China, isn't it? If the foreign universities which they establish here, this outflow, or what we can say the brain drain, can be arrested here only. So definitely it is the, as I said, what is the government's policy to increase the gross enrollment ratio in higher education institute? Are they going to increase, or are they going to bring in new universities, or are they going to fund the states when there is an increase in enrollment ratio? This is the biggest question mark which we have. So I am not averse to privatization. I am telling you, I mean, the role of private players will increase. And I would like to quote here a university of 5 years of experience like Reliance University. It has come under Institute of Eminence, which gets 1,000 crores. So a university with 5 years of experience can get 1,000 crores. What about the university which is over 100 years, like Usmania University, which has brought out so many luminaries across the globe, big people, like if you say the best example of our IICT director, he is alumni of Usmania University. So where does these public funded institutes go? An institute with 5 years of experience can get 1,000 crores. So in future, definitely these private players will get the government funding rather than the public institutions. That is my concern.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Swati Mishra. Thank you. Now I am call upon Professor Anjaneyulu garu. Professor Anjaneyulu. Sir, మీరు అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి. ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆంజనేయులు ఉన్నారు సార్. ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆంజనేయులు గారు. సార్ ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆంజనేయులు గారు.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, please, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, please,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. See, actually, the new education policy, it is good. But only thing is, are we prepared to fully implement it is the question.
Yes, sir.
Now, there are several questions which are to be answered by the government. Okay, it's not just education, but we need the whole ecosystem to be in place. Okay, including employment. So when you don't have the full ecosystem ready, there's no point in saying that we'll implement a new education policy. Okay, and other countries are able to do it well. It is because they have evolved from the beginning, and they have the ecosystem ready in the society. So they were very successful. Okay, but without this ecosystem being ready, and how the government is planning to implement the new education policy in toto, that is the issue that to be addressed.
Yes, sir.
And not only that, if the government can take up the full responsibility, okay, that means no private sector to be involved. Okay, let the government take the full responsibility of implementing, then we'll all welcome it.
Yes, sir.
We'll all welcome it, because we know the situation in the society, that how private sector is actually exploiting the education system. Now currently we have the pandemic. They said online, and now we know how online is being exploited.
Yes,
Now
sir.
they are charging, the private schools are charging students, including tab, 14,000 per tab, where tab costs hardly 2,000 to 3,000. And what they say, we'll download all the education material and give it to your boy. Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay, so therefore it only becomes an exploitation in the name of new education policy. No doubt the system is good, but only thing is, a lot of spade work to be done before we go for it. And of course, Parliament has not yet approved it. That is there anyway. But is the spade work done? It's only came in the sometime in the 2019 August, and there were only few debates conducted by various universities. But has the government taken the suggestions given by all these bodies? No. Okay, it's only for namesake they gave a discussion. But there were lots of ifs and buts. Several questions to be answered, as correctly raised by Dr. Nagesh. That what about the mother tongue issues? What about the tribal universities, tribal schools, and what about the experience of the teachers? And what about the other issues? There are so many things. Okay, so therefore, what we have to do is, we can definitely welcome this, provided the government takes the full responsibility. Yes. Let the government say that we will take the full responsibility, and we'll take it in a war footing scenario, and let them take 6 months to 9 months or 1 year time. Let the ecosystem be ready in the society, then let them implement. Nobody questions. Okay, and anyway, we cannot completely dispense with the conventional education system, where teacher cannot be replaced. Online can be only supportive. It's not. It's only a supportive. It is required. See, the kind of human interaction that the child requires in a conventional classroom is very essential, especially at the low-level classes like preschool. Okay, we cannot have that kind of emotional bonding should be there between the child and the teacher. Without that, things will not happen. And if you cannot have that kind of emotional bonding and then interactive learning at the early age, and it becomes only a screen learning, then the kind of maturity that the child will have is negligible. There is no point in having such thing.
Yes.
So therefore, my opinion is that if at all we have to go for this thing, there should be a lot of spade work that to be done by the government, and the government has to take full responsibility, because there are still so many questions unanswered. With so many questions unanswered, how we can simply go just because on paper it is good. On paper it is good, no doubt in that. Yes. But in reality, implementation is very, very important for us. And also, it's not new. 1968, 1986, then 2019 thing. Okay, so therefore, after the long gap, again telling the same thing, like somebody said, it's like old wine in a new bottle.
Yes.
Kind of a thing. So it is very essential that these points are to be considered. And also, GDP, 6% of GDP government is ready to spend. Okay. Yeah. Are they ready to spend? If they are ready to spend, fine. Yeah. And also, there no healthcare. Okay. There no hospital, no doctors. We are seeing what is the condition the entire country today as on today. Okay, in such situation, it's like they're just saying that the fox want to be look like a tiger, so the fox has all the black marks on the body. It's like that. Okay.
Sir,
Therefore, my opinion.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry,
sir,
I'm concluding.
I would like to add to it, sir.
Sir,
Sir,
please.
as you said, sir, yes, it is no, I mean, without, sorry, classroom cannot be replaced by a teacher, sir. It is
100%.
100%, sir. I am for it also, sir,
Yeah.
because a student, maybe it's a school or college or anything else, the students are emotionally attached to I mean, teachers, because most of the time they are in school, sir, rather than at home.
Yeah. That is
And
called cognitive learning.
yes,
Cognitive
sir,
learning is important.
one thing, and the peer group which is there, sir, that will be missing, sir, because
Yes.
whatever they share the ideas, they play the games, or etc etc, that kind will be missing, sir. And one
Obviously.
more thing, the emotional bonding which is there between
Hmm?
teacher and student, between the peer
Okay.
group, that definitely bring a lot of issues psychologically to the students, sir. That is what I personally. Sir, one question from
Thank.
my side to you, sir. Anjanelu, sir.
Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
Sir, I always have this because suppose, as they said, that the credit bank system or credit transfer, and if
Yes.
we take NIT, Warangal, and Usmania University,
Yes.
and in this format of changing credits or subjects major and minor,
Yes.
is it possible, sir? Because NITs are the topmost institutes of India, where
Yes.
people come through the highest, I mean, the competition, and the best of the
Intense.
minds enter into the NIT. And
Exactly.
I do
Yes.
not say that the people who do come to Usmania, they are inferior, but
Mm.
definitely there is a difference between them. And how do you, I mean, accept that a student candidate coming from Usman University and doing a credit course at NIT Warangal, and then coming back to Usman University and taking their degree? How do you see it,
Yes.
sir? It's a, I
Yeah.
mean, always a confusing question for me.
Yeah. Yeah. The answer to this question is, I'll tell you, surprisingly, we wanted to have that kind of credit transfer among NITs. We are not able to do it.
My God. Okay.
Yeah. So among NITs and among IITs, the
Sir.
reason is that all these are autonomous institutions. They have their own way of framing curricula and syllabus. Okay.
Sir.
If
Sir.
at all credit transfer to happen, if
Sir.
my student want to do something, so they have to do something which is equivalent to what I have here.
Sir.
Okay. So therefore,
Huh?
across NITs and IITs, when you have this problem,
Swati Mishra.
Sir.
then
మళ్ళీ మాట్లాడరా?
Sir.
how about such
Sir.
kind of a mapping to take place between NITs and other universities?
Yeah.
I'm saying it's a welcome move, definitely.
Yeah.
If not today,
But
in future we have to do it. But
yes.
before that, we have to do some groundwork and bring some
Groundwork.
commonalities.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
When there are commonalities, it is welcome. In fact, students also will feel when they migrate for a semester from OU to NIT, and then it's a great experience for them.
Yes,
But do
sir.
we have the required background set it up?
Yeah, that is what the equivalency which I was talking, sir.
Yes.
The
So
equivalency
therefore,
is questionable.
yes. So in the absence
Yeah.
of all this, having this one, so therefore, what I'm only saying, on paper it is very good, but for implementation, the government has to do a lot of spade work. There's no
Yes, sir.
doubt about it. Let the
Yes, sir.
government do the lot of spade work.
Yes,
Let
sir.
them take 1 year and do the spade work. Then you implement, fine. Everybody will appreciate.
Yes,
Whether
sir.
they take 1 year,
Sir.
2 year, 3 year, or whether the government will be in place for that duration, we don't know. All these things
Done.
are very dynamic.
Yes.
Okay. But as
థ్యాంక్ యూ
of now,
ప్రొఫెసర్ అంజనేయులు గారు. సార్ థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. అండ్ కలపాండ ప్రొఫెసర్ రంగారావు గారు. ప్రొఫెసర్ రంగారావు గారు. సార్ రంగారావు గారు ఆన్లైన్ లో ఉన్నారా సార్? లైన్ లో ప్రొఫెసర్ రంగారావు గారు లేడా? ఉన్నాడు సార్. ప్రొఫెసర్ రంగారావు గారు ఉన్నాడా సార్? ఉన్నాడు సార్, ఉన్నాడు రంగారావు సార్. ఉన్నాడు. అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి సార్, మీరు అన్మ్యూట్ చేయండి సార్ ప్లీజ్. రంగారావు సార్ ఉన్నాడా సార్? ఉన్నాడు రంగారావు సార్. ఉమ్మడి శెట్టి సార్ ప్రొఫెసర్ సుధాకర్ గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ కె సుధాకర్ గారు, సుధాకర్ సార్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి సార్ ప్లీజ్. ప్రొఫెసర్ సుధాకర్ లా. Yeah, please sir, please sir, please.
Thank you. Good evening all.
Yeah.
I've been very closely watching. At the outset, I thank Dr. Sinagesh Garu for having presented an excellent exposition on the new economic policy. In fact, I also did some exercise in some other occasion, and I was actually discussing about the legal education more particularly, which has been specifically mentioned about as a standalone institutions. But now coming to the entire general report that Kastur Rangan along with another 4 or 5 vice chancellors have been presented, which runs into about 436 pages. It's a very laudable report which has come after almost 34 years lapse. But this is something, this report, a close scanning will reveal us that it is, to some extent, it's good, and in some respects, it is impracticable, and on some other aspects, it is also objectionable. There are many issues that are to be discussed at threadbare in the academic environment. Now, at the outset, what I would like to say is that it is only it's a policy, and this particular policy is aimed to be achieved in order it's fulfilled in 100% by around 2040. And one has to imagine a particular government whose life is limited to the extent of 5 years may definitely have a preposition to have a long range goal of a good education system in India. But this system has to also to have certain practicalities. So achieving all those things from a particular ideological concept, that is what I am rightly using, and to be operational in around 40 years, probably may not be possible. So of course, there may be a longer range goals and also short goals to be achieved. So immediately, I think there are certain best issues which I would like to project. Definitely, a comprehensive system which is away from that of a bhatti system and making the students with a kind of thinking creativity and some other systems is a very radical thinking in a creative manner and all that. Definitely is a welcome feature. But however, there are also certain other features like we are talking of Professor Nagesh Garu was talking about the inviting of foreign universities. True. When a Howard University or MIT or some other Princeton or some other universities from England, from US or Oxford or Cambridge happen to come from India, then definitely from the student's point of view, it is invariably essential. I think it is a welcome feature. But whether the country is prepared only to invite foreign institutions at the cost of the Indian institutions, when both the central and state governments are deliberately not giving proper and appropriate importance to the education system. Unfortunately, education system originally it was in state list and subsequently it was put into a concurrent list. Now, with the other things that have been taken up over period, it is being slowly dragged away into the union government. So therefore, when the governments, both either union or state governments, are not prepared to strengthen the domestic education system and more prepared for a warm welcome, a red carpet welcome to the foreign institutions, then what is the thing that we are going to achieve? That is also best question. Another thing, as an academic, my other objection is that we are not definitely, Professor from NIT was talking about, but when there is no sufficient infrastructure and other things for research and all that, would there be any possibility for a conventional university to withstand with the new challenges that are occurring? According to the statement, it is required that about 6% of GDP is supposed to be spent on the education system, but as of now, it is only 1.4% or so, and on research, it is only 0.6% is being spent by the government. And with this 0.6% of expenditure on the research, which kind of quality education we are going to have? And look at, I am operating in a university system when there are no vice chancellors to number of universities, and there are no professors in the university, and the entire show is being run by part-timers, not even contractors in the university. Which kind of quality education we are assuming to the domestic or Indian students is the question. This has to be answered. I think really it requires a lot of threadbare discussion. But in fact, over the, while I was watching Professor Nagesh and all things, I have dumped a lot of information in the chat box. Probably our friends might have already saw. So because of paucity of time, I think I may have to conclude here. So while concluding, what I say that one other thing I would like to stress upon is that the proposal is to shut down 30% of the workload, the teaching load, the curriculum. And okay, it's the 30% reducing is welcome feature, but at the same time, when I have gone through the report randomly, it says that very core issues over which every citizen of this country is presupposed to know. That is, what is citizenship, what is federalism, what are the fundamental rights, what is the nationalism, has been deliberately kept away from the education, from the system, while dispensing with 30% loading down of the syllabus. So there are some other more objectionable things are also there in addition to the positive things. So anyway, this actually requires a lot of subsequent discussion as well. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity at the fag end of this meeting, because you have been listening and our paper is being tested for about 2 hours now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sudhakar Garu. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Swati Mishra. Swati Mishra, please unmute your. Swati Mishra, unmute your phone. Audio. Swati Mishra.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, madam. Please.
So I want to share some views on the emerging education system in India. It will generally not just related to national education. So our education process is just related to the institute, but it is a comprehensive process that involves every institution to make it successful. There is involvement of society, household, teacher, staff, governors, and students. And education is even limited to science, technology, or arts. It's about development of thinking process and questioning without fear of judgment, along with integrating value in one core. Learning processes like mathematics, which you ought to simplify every step and apply the results to the right sector. Mathematics ein privat. So
Madam, your audio is very problematic. Please
system.
Connect. Yeah.
Which allows students to learn and not just study. So as a kid, even I studied in a semi-government school, and I was lucky enough to have been introduced to vocational guidance, to internships at quite an early age. So I feel it is not more about privatization. It is more about understanding the process of learning and educating students in a better way. And we have to stop using the word study. As my principal always insisted, it's learning. It has to be a learning process. It can't be just reading or studying. Now, as may I add, premier institutes like IIMs or NITs, KITs, whatever we have, they're more focused on exams or technical questioning in the interview. So mostly in the science or the commerce field, but they do not allow artistic feature to penetrate the science or the commerce field. And I totally believe that science cannot grow in absence of creativity. Creative space enhances curiosity and leads to inventions and best technology. Observation is a process that we often snatch away amidst the hectic schedule that the students are burdened with. So it's like I don't remember picking books after school or college until my bachelor's. We through discussions, stories, experiences, and mistakes. So I remember this incident quite particularly. So I studied in a convent, and my principal never could speak Hindi, but she always insisted on speaking Hindi and singing despite being a terrible singer, which actually encourages the students to not be afraid of something or not being judgmental. It is learning. And, it is even more about creating a safe space for the students where they do not have any fear of the teachers or the society or the colleagues. It is about growing and developing that thinking process and where they can thrive and embrace themselves for the choices of their own selves with guidance of a teacher. And there also has to be an ecosystem for the teacher that needs to be created. They shouldn't be restricted either. They need a space where they can experiment their own thinking, and the parents have to be supportive as well. I guess today the parents thinks that a child needs to definitely undergo a 12 to 15 hours of study period if they are in the board exams. So I don't think that is necessary. If a student starts to learn, even enjoy the sports, the culture, the linguistic learning through the events, and still have the school trips, and they will feel less burdened. So I think the new education policy is trying to bring that. Definitely, there will be some governance issues in the process, but I guess they'll be able to overcome those with a few advisories and few years. So I do not oppose it. I think it will help in creating an atmosphere that will help both students and teachers to grow in. I guess I was lucky enough to grow and learn in an environment that was more student friendly, and it helped us to think more creatively. So, as coming from a UNT, we are supposed to learn more languages than the other students do. For other states, it's 3 languages. So, apart from that, we also study French and Portuguese. So, by the time I was there, it became compulsory, like not compulsory languages. But I think there is a difference that we have to start learning. Like learning as a first language is different, where we focus on the grammar and aspects. When you learn a language as a second language, you just learn it. It's like learning your own mother tongue. You might not know the grammar or the structure of it, but you just can speak well. And this helps in developing the brain more and more. And also, as Sir said, that online classes are not feasible. I agree. Online classes are not feasible because of the lack of the IT infrastructure that we have. But I don't think it takes away the learning experiences. So, as one of the members present here, James Prashant, he's been my mentor for more than 10 years. And I have learned so much from him. I have excelled because of him. And it has been all through online teaching. So I never felt there was a lack in sharing of ideas that we have had. It's more about, just expressing right, hearing someone, understanding someone, and that are the qualities needed in a teacher. And because James Prashant, he could, I think I've come way ahead in my field today, and I have developed a process of thinking differently. So I completely disagree to the point that online education cannot provide that same experience of teaching as the classroom. Of course, there is missing of peers and the friendship, but especially during this time, it is something that we really need to look upon. Okay, so
Thank you, Swati
that's my
Mishra. Thank you, madam. Thank you once again. I call upon Praveen Sagar. Praveen Sagar, unmute yourself. Praveen Sagar.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Please come. Please. Go ahead. Please. Please conclude
Good
within
evening to
2 minutes. Yeah.
yeah. Good Good evening to everyone who are on online, especially from Warangal, Hyderabad, and all the members who are here. And good evening to the speaker
They
who
are
has given a
different parts of the world, Praveen.
Sorry.
Different parts of the world are there now.
Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Okay. So I would like to continue in Telugu. I think most of us can understand Telugu.
Yeah. Please continue.
Is it fine, sir? Okay.
Please. Go ahead. Yeah.
ఈ రోజు మనము తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక మీటింగ్ లో, సండే మీటింగ్ లో నూతన విద్యా విధానంపై ఒక అద్భుతమైన చర్చ జరిగిందని అనుకోవాలి. చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ గా ఉంది. ఈ నూతన విద్యా విధానం యాక్చువల్ గా పేపర్ లో చూస్తే సరిగా అర్థం కాలేదు. ఈ రోజు మన గెస్ట్ స్పీకర్ గారు కొంత డీటెయిల్ గా ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేసిండు. ఈవెన్ దో ఐ హావ్ ఫ్యూ క్వశ్చన్స్ అందులో. సో యాక్చువల్ గా 5+3+3+4 అని ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మోడల్ ని తీసుకొద్దాం అనుకుంటుంది సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్. ఐ థింక్ ఇట్ ఈస్ రియల్లీ డిబేటబుల్. అది గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్ కి వస్తే యాక్చువల్ గా స్టేట్ అండ్ సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్ కోఆర్డినేషన్ తోటి ఇది ఎట్లా ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అవుతుంది అనేది పెద్ద క్వశ్చన్ మార్క్. తర్వాత మన ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ఇన్ ద స్టేట్ ఒక మోడల్ కి ఆల్రెడీ ఎక్విప్ అయి ఉంది. సో కొత్త మోడల్ ని అడాప్ట్ చేసుకొని దాన్ని ఏ విధంగా ముందుకు తీసుకెళ్లేదు అనేది మొత్తం కంప్లీట్ గా స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ చేతిలో ఉన్నప్పుడు సెంట్రల్ స్కూల్స్ ఇవి అడాప్ట్ చేసుకోగలితే గానీ స్టేట్ స్కూల్స్ తర్వాత ప్రైవేట్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్స్ ఏదైతే స్కూల్స్ ఉంటాయో అవి అండర్ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ రన్ అవుతున్నప్పుడు ఆ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ పాలసీలను ఎక్కువ ఫాలో అవుతుంటాయి. మరి ఇది ఈ పాలసీని మనం గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్లో ఉండే స్కూల్స్, విలేజెస్ తర్వాత టౌన్స్ లో ఉండే స్కూల్స్ ఏ విధంగా అడాప్ట్ చేసుకుంటాయి అనేది క్వశ్చన్ మార్క్. తర్వాత ఇంటర్మీడియట్ మొత్తం వాష్అవుట్ అయినట్టుంది. గ్రాడ్యుయేషన్ కూడా 4 years అని ఉంది. ఇది మేబీ ఫారెన్ కంట్రీ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ లాగా అనిపిస్తుంది. బట్ ఎనీవే లెట్స్ సీ హౌ ఇట్ గోస్. కాకపోతే నాకు తెలిసి ఈ మోడల్ సక్సెస్ అవుతుందని అనుకోలేను. బట్ చేంజ్ ఈజ్ ఇన్ఎవిటబుల్. చేంజ్ మనం కంపల్సరీ యాక్సెప్ట్ చేయాలి. బట్ ఆ చేంజ్ అనేది మన పరిస్థితులని ఏ విధంగా అది మనం ఆ పరిస్థితులను ఏ విధంగా మనం అడాప్ట్ చేసుకోగలం అనేది పెద్ద క్వశ్చన్ మార్క్. మన ఇండియా యాక్చువల్గా కంప్లీట్ గా చెప్పాలంటే క్రియేటివిటీ కంటే కూడా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ మీదనే ఎక్కువ డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటది. చాలా మంది చదువుకొని ఒక జాబ్ చేయాలనేది ఒక పెద్ద డ్రీమ్ ప్రతి ఒక్కరికి. సో బయట కంట్రీస్ లాగా మనకు వేరే అదర్ బిజినెసెస్ కానీ క్రియేటివ్ థింకింగ్ కానీ ఇవి చాలా తక్కువ ఉంటాయి. సో ఈ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ని మనం కంప్లీట్ గా అర్థం కాని పరిస్థితుల్లో తీసుకుపోయినప్పుడు కంప్లీట్ గా టౌన్స్ అండ్ విలేజెస్ లో ఉన్న స్కూల్స్ తర్వాత విద్యార్థులు రియల్ గా సఫర్ అవుతారు. ఓకే, హైదరాబాద్ లాంటి మెట్రోపాలిటన్ సిటీస్ లో ఉండే స్కూల్స్ కానీ అవి తర్వాత కంప్లీట్ గా ఈ కార్పొరేట్ స్కూల్స్ కి కాలేజెస్ కి బెనిఫిట్ చేయొచ్చు, కానీ గ్రౌండ్ లెవెల్ లో ఉండే స్కూల్స్ కి కాలేజెస్ కి ఎట్టి పరిస్థితుల్లో బెనిఫిట్ కాదు ఈ మోడల్. తర్వాత మన లిటరసీ రేట్ పైన యాక్చువల్ గా ఎటువంటి డిబేట్ లేదు ఇందులో. యాక్చువల్ డిబేట్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ ఆ పాలసీలో నేను చెప్పేది. సో మనం 74% వరకే ఉన్నాం. మన స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్ చూస్తే 66-67 వరకే ఉంది. సో విచ్ ఈస్ వెరీ బ్యాడ్. టాప్ 5 కింద నుంచి ఉన్నాం మనము. దాని మీద ఎటువంటి యాక్చువల్ గా తక్కువ లిటరసీ రేట్ ఉన్న స్టేట్స్ కి ఏ విధంగా దాన్ని కొత్త మోడల్ ని ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేసి లిటరసీ రేట్ ని ఎట్లా పెంచాలనేది ఎక్కడ రాలేదు చర్చ. దాంతో పాటు ఉన్న స్కూల్స్ లో యాక్చువల్ గా చాలా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ తర్వాత లెర్నింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ లెర్నింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ స్కూల్స్ యొక్క స్టాండర్డ్ ఏ విధంగా ఉన్నాయనేది ఇంటరింగ్ అథారిటీస్ బాడీస్ కానీ స్టేట్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ ఎక్కడ కూడా లేదా సెంట్రల్ గవర్నమెంట్స్ ఎక్కడ కూడా దీన్ని మానిటర్ చేసే ప్రాసెస్ కనపడతలేదు. ఎక్కడ కూడా లేదు కూడా గతంలో కూడా. కేవలం పర్మిషన్స్ వస్తాయి, స్కూల్స్ రన్ అవుతుంటాయి. టోటల్ గా 1, 2, 3 శ్రీ చైతన్య నారాయణ లాంటి స్కూల్ కాలేజెస్ చేతిలోనే మొత్తం మోర్ దెన్ 50-60% స్టూడెంట్స్ చదివే పరిస్థితి ఉంది. అక్కడ ఎక్కడ కూడా గ్రౌండ్స్ కానీ తర్వాత ప్రాక్టికల్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ ఎక్కడ కూడా స్కూల్ కాలేజెస్ లో ఉండదు. మరి తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు రాబోయే రోజుల్లో మరి 5+3+3+4 అనేది థియరిటికల్ గా చాలా అద్భుతంగా అనిపిస్తుంది, కానీ ప్రాక్టికల్ గా వచ్చే వరకు ఇది ఒక ఫెయిల్యూర్ స్టోరీ లాగానే ఉంటుందని నాకు అనిపిస్తుంది. ఎనీవే వెరీ గుడ్ టాపిక్. నాకు ఈ అవకాశాన్ని ఇచ్చిన రామన్నకు, తర్వాత అధ్యక్షుల వారికి, ఈ రోజు మాట్లాడిన స్పీకర్ గారికి, హైదరాబాద్ ఇన్ఛార్జ్ మనోజ్ గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుతూ
థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రవీణ్ సాగర్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రవీణ్ సాగర్. ఇప్పుడు అశోక్ బాబు గారు ప్లీజ్. అశోక్ బాబు అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్ ప్లీజ్. అశోక్ బాబు గారు యా ప్లీజ్ అన్మ్యూట్ చేసుకోండి సార్ మీరు.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఇవాళ సెషన్ చాలా అద్భుతంగా జరిగింది. ఇక్కడ ఫోకస్ అంతా ఎడ్యుకేషన్ టు ద స్టూడెంట్స్. అయితే ఇక్కడ నేను నాన్ టీచింగ్ ఒక ఉద్యోగిగా యూనివర్సిటీ సిస్టమ్ను గత 28 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి చూసిన వానిగా నేను చెప్పేది ఏంటంటే, ఇప్పుడు డెలివరెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్, ఇప్పుడు టెక్నాలజీని అడాప్ట్ చేస్తున్నారు. ఇప్పుడు టీచర్కు మల్టీ టాస్క్ ఉంది. ఆయనే ఎడ్యుకేటరా ఫెసిలిటేటరా అనేది ఇప్పుడు కీనోట్ అడ్రస్ చేసిన సార్ కూడా చెప్పిండు. అంటే ఇక్కడ ఎడ్యుకేటర్గా వ్యవహారం చేసినప్పుడు తనకు చాలా మల్టీ టాస్క్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో డ్యూరింగ్ డెలివరెన్స్ ఆఫ్ హిజ్ లెక్చర్ ఆర్ క్లాస్ త్రూ ఆన్లైన్ ఆర్ డిజిటల్, ఇక్కడ సపోర్టింగ్ సర్వీసెస్ ఆర్ వెరీ మచ్ నీడెడ్. ఇప్పుడున్న ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టంలో లీస్ట్ బాదర్డ్ ఫర్ సపోర్టింగ్ సర్వీసెస్ ఒకప్పటి లెక్క లేదు. అంటే ల్యాబొరేటరీ సిస్టమ్ అయినా, తర్వాత ఈ ఓన్లీ ఆఫీస్ సైడ్ ఎంప్లాయీస్ను తీసుకునేది, ఆ శాలరీ పేమెంట్, ఎగ్జామ్స్, బండిల్స్, మాన్యువల్ దిస్ థింగ్ కోసమే ఎక్కువ ప్రయారిటీలు ఇస్తున్నారు. అంటే పర్సనల్ మేనేజ్మెంట్, ఇక్కడ హెచ్ఆర్ డిపార్ట్మెంటు, అకాడమిక్ స్టాఫ్ కాలేజెస్ ఎట్లయితే టీచర్స్కి ఉన్నాయో, నాన్ టీచింగ్ కూడా ట్రైనింగ్ సెంటర్స్, హెచ్ఆర్ డిపార్ట్మెంటు ఈ ఎన్ఈపిలో ఫోకస్ చేయలేదు అనేది మేము గమనించిన అంశం సార్. దీని గురించి కూడా అడ్రస్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. ఎందుకనంటే వేల కొద్ది మంది సపోర్టింగ్ స్టాఫ్ ఉంటారు. ఒక్కొక్క యూనివర్సిటీలో వందల సంఖ్యలో టీచర్స్ ఉంటే వేల కొద్ది సపోర్టింగ్ స్టాఫ్ ఉంటారు. వాళ్ళను ఏ విధంగా వాళ్ళ సర్వీసెస్ను ఆప్టిమం యూటిలైజేషన్ కోసం తీర్చిదిద్దేందుకు చేయాల్సిన అవసరం కూడా ఉన్నదనేది ఈ సందర్భంగా తెలియజేస్తున్నా. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ అశోక్ బాబు గారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. అండ్ ఉజ్వల్, unmute yourself, Ujjwal.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
thank
Ujjwal.
You for
Yeah. Please.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I somehow like this new education policy. Actually, it's a visionary document. It sees India's role as a global guru, and also plans to introduce creative technologies, creative learning, and also aims to change the entire way of learning. I feel, there's nothing wrong in this document, and I also feel that there is unnecessary stress that there is a more importance given to private education, which I don't feel so. In fact, the document itself talks about philanthropic partnerships through public and private enterprise, and also it aims at bringing more transparency in the private thing by declaring them non-profit organizations. So, I think the fears are uncurled, and I don't think the education mode will be completely online. Probably for some time, both online and offline will together travel. And this education, the most important point is it aims in bringing out the creative part of it. That was one of the biggest challenges Indian education system faced for the past 20 years. And that being addressed, and even the examination pattern, the way that is also changed. They want to implement credit based analysis of the student. So I don't see it as a negative way. Yeah, there may be some challenges, and it is interesting to see how the government will overcome these challenges. And also the most important point is bringing humanities in IITs and other premier institutes, so-called specialized institutes. So the aim is to become multidisciplinary and multilingual at the visionary level it is very, very good. Maybe there will be some practical difficulties. And also, I mean, I heard some of the speakers saying that the role of teachers is more of like a supportive kind of role nowadays. No, I don't. I beg to disagree there. Role of teachers can never be removed, no matter what level of technology enters. It's like even though there is a robotic operations in medical field, can we remove doctors? It's the doctor. Robotic technology is only to aid the doctor, but it's ultimately the doctor who does the operation, because nobody can understand human. No robot can understand human better than a doctor. In the same way, there is no technology which can understand a student better than the teacher. So teacher role, in fact, this document increases. In fact, it also recognizes the role of teachers in the society, and it also talks about bringing more respect, and also aims at continuous improvement of teachers by more continuous training and all. So this is a great visionary document. Nothing to be afraid, I think, at the onset. Maybe there will be challenges. I really wish whatever said in this document is successful.
Thank you, Ujjwal.
Yeah,
Thank you once again. And
May I intervene? May I intervene?
Gunda Ashok Kumar garu, unmute yourself.
May I intervene at this moment, please?
Please.
Yeah, Ujjwal, I agree with you. I have no issues in this document. But at the outset, we are a welfare state. We declared ourselves as a welfare state. And when you say philanthropic partnership, already all the institutions which are run in a private thing, they are all philanthropic. There is no income tax for them. You have to understand that. So the amount of fees they are collecting from the students is enormous. It is like we have to take that into consideration. I'm not saying the document is bad. When we call ourselves a welfare state, the right to education to all the students in the country, we've made it an act. Are we in a position, or the state is in a position to give education to all? So this is where we have to discuss. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Gunda Ashok Kumar garu. Please unmute yourself. Gunda Ashok Kumar.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Yeah, please. Right, sir.
Professor Nagaraj, sir, explained everything in a systematic way, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, as you said, you are not against private institutions, sir. In this regard, I would like to draw your attention to one important aspect. Sir, the important thing is that we have two sets of institutions. That is, as you know, one is private institutions, great institutions. They are rich in terms of many facilities. They have good resources. Their pockets are very deep. On another side, we have poor private institutions where there are no funds, where there are no even blackboards, even many posts are vacant. Ultimately, what is happening is that once students come out of poor private institutions, they are blamed, saying that they are not competent enough to do great jobs because they are not intelligent, because they lack skills. But actually, the thing is that they are graduating from the institutions where there are no good libraries, where there are no teachers, where there are no minimum facilities. For the fault of government and for the faults of many things, students are blamed, saying that they are not capable enough to do good jobs in great private institutions. But at the same time, in private institutions, they are rich in terms of many aspects. They have good libraries, they have great teachers, they have funds. With all these facilities, they come out of the institutions with flying colors, and they are praised, saying that they are very intelligent students. Whereas private, in the government schools, very intelligent students work hard, but in spite of their hard work, they come out and they may be lagging behind in many skills because of lacking facilities in the government institutions. Sir, is it not against the spirit of Constitution? Is it not against the letter of Constitution, saying that once we don't allocate funds, where we don't have good libraries, where we don't have teachers and lecturers, ultimately they come out of government institutions and students are blamed without their faults. Is it good, sir? Is it not against the Constitution? Is it not against the spirit of Constitution don't give them opportunities, and we say that they are not competent enough. Is it right, sir? Please throw light on this aspect, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Gunda Ashok Kumar Garu. And now, Kranti Kumar, unmute yourself. Kranti Kumar. Please unmute yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
So
Conclude
good evening to
within
one
2
and all.
minutes, please. Yeah, please.
It's been a real pleasure to listen to all the learned people who have expressed their opinion on this particular topic, which is very important. So from my end, with respect to this new education policy, there are obviously, as many speakers have said, there are pros and cons. So the other side of the coin being like giving some kind of an impetus to private institutions, because private universities, foreign universities are being allowed into India to start their own campuses here. So that is one thing which is a kind of threat to the universities in India, indigenous universities. That is one thing. And as apart from that, as previously Ramu sir was saying, since India is a welfare state, it has proclaimed itself as a welfare state in the constitution. So some of the provisions of this education policy goes against those provisions. So keeping those things aside with respect to what government is doing, I would like to speak about the universities and the education curriculum as such. Out of 200 top universities in the world, not even a single Indian university is figuring in that. So after 70 years of independence, this is one of the things which we have to ponder upon. We have to delve deep into our conscience as to where we are going wrong. The best brains are not being retained in the education industry. The best brains get into other industries. If you compare the kind of facilities and other perks and perquisites given to the professors and teachers in other countries, in India it is not like that. In India, Telugulo cheppali ante batakaleka badipantulu. So in this kind of a situation, how can you expect the best brains to be in the education industry? And if the residue are in the education industry, then how can you expect that the next coming generation would spark like stars? So from university side and from the government side, some kind of a motivation has to be provided wherein good brains stay back in the education industry and teach the coming generations. This is really important. And with respect to university curriculum, in fact, I was going through some material of sociology, distance education material from Usmania University. So some of the statistics were, I'm sorry, sir.
Industry is profit again. When you call industry of education and industry, you are talking about profits. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was actually mentioning about one of the statistics which I had gone through a book, sociology book actually. So the statistics were as old as 1997. So in fact, the course material was not updated after that. It is implied in that book. So this is the sorry state of affairs, because Andy, actually I am from Avinash Degree College. So we have intermediate as well as degree. So we come across many students, and in fact with respect to degree curriculum also, those students who opt for BCom computer applications, even though they don't attend the lab, basing on the internal assessments, they will get the marks and they will pass. And I don't know why that university is not strict in implementing all the things. Okay, at some point in time, I might have to accept that even our college is at some, is doing something wrong. Okay, we are to be held guilty. I'm fine with that. But then it is the university which has to implement. Why I'm speaking all these things, because there are many students out there who have MPhil and PhD in their hand, but they don't know basics. They don't even know basics of it. In fact, in the year 2015 in Uttar Pradesh, when the notification was released for 143 vacancies for sweepers, 16,000 people have applied, and out of that, 7,000 people were graduates and postgraduates. So this is the sorry state of our curriculum and the quality of students who are coming out of it. So squarely, I don't want to squarely blame the government for this. There has to be a change in the mindset of the people also. When Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam got the offer from NASA with astronomical figures as his package, He could have gone there, but he stayed back in India. That was the patriotism he had shown. So maybe at some point in time, with respect to certain professions, everything should not be quantified in terms of money, and some sacrifices have to be made to create a good future for the coming generations. So ultimately, this is what I want to say. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Kranti. Now, Umameshwar Reddy, unmute yourself. Umameshwar Reddy garu. Complete within 2 minutes. Please, sir, please. Unmute yourself. Unmute just for me. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, please. Right.
TJV కన్వీనర్ గారికి రామన్నకి అధ్యక్షుల గారికి నమస్కారం, ఉన్న సభ్యులందరికీ నమస్కారం. గుడ్ ఈవినింగ్ ప్రొఫెసర్ గారు అన్ని సబ్జెక్ట్స్ మనకి కవర్ చేశారు, గురుకులాల నుంచి నేటి దాకా. ఈ ఎంపీ నేషనల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ పాలసీ ఏదైతే తెచ్చారో దాన్ని చాలా మంది సమర్థించారు, కొంతమంది సమర్థించలేదు. నాకు దీంట్లో ఉన్న డౌట్ ఏంటిదంటే, ఒక 10 ఏళ్ల ముందు ఇట్లనే ప్రైవేట్ కాలేజెస్ వస్తున్నాయి, ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజెస్ అన్నారు. అయితే ఇప్పుడు ప్రైవేట్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజెస్ వచ్చినాక ఎంత లాభమైందో మనం చూసినాము. అలాగే ఈ ప్రైవేట్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజెస్ అన్ని ఏమైనా అంటే సిటీ బయట ఉన్న పౌల్ట్రీ ఫార్మ్స్ అన్ని, ఫార్మ్ హౌస్లు అన్ని కూడా ఇప్పుడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజీలు అయిపోయినాయి. వచ్చిన పిల్లలు ఏమవుతున్నారో మనం చూస్తున్నాము. నేను అనుకోవడం ఈ ప్రైవేటు యూనివర్సిటీలు కూడా ఇలాగే వచ్చేస్తే స్టాండర్డ్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ తక్కువ అవుతుంది అనిపిస్తుంది పిల్లలకి. ఫారెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ ఇప్పుడు మనకు అన్నారు యూపీలో స్వీపర్స్ కొరకు పెడితే పిల్లలు హైలీ క్వాలిఫైడ్ పిల్లలు వచ్చారని చదవడానికి. నేను అనుకోవడము అమెరికన్ యూనివర్సిటీలో చదువుకున్న పిల్లలు కూడా స్వీపర్ లాగా వస్తారని. అందుకొరకు మనం ఎక్కువ ప్రైవేటైజ్ చేస్తూ పోతే ఎడ్యుకేషన్ క్వాలిటీ దెబ్బతింటుంది. ఎడ్యుకేషన్ క్వాలిటీ దెబ్బతినొద్దంటే ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఎక్కువ ప్రైవేటైజ్ చేయొద్దు. నేను తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక వాళ్ళు ముందు నుంచి అన్న చెప్పిండ్రు విద్య ఇంకా వైద్యం గురించే మేము ఎక్కువ మట్టుకు డిస్కస్ చేసేది అని. అయితే మీరు డిస్కస్ చేసి ఇన్ని రోజులు మార్పు రావాలన్నారు, కానీ ఇంకా ఇప్పుడు ఈ డిస్కషన్స్ మీరు ఇంకా ఎక్కువ పెట్టాలన్నా. ఎందుకంటే మీరు అనుకున్న మార్పు వస్తలేదు. మార్పు వస్తుంది కానీ అంత ప్రైవేట్ వాళ్ళ కొరకు డిగ్రీలు అమ్ముకోనికే వస్తున్నది. ఇట్లా ప్రైవేట్ మరీ భారతదేశం కాకుండా బయట దేశాల డిగ్రీలు కూడా ఇక అమ్మేస్తే మన దగ్గర చాలా కష్టంగా ఉంటుంది. ఎందుకంటే చదువుకున్న పిల్లలకి ఇక వాల్యూ ఉండదు. దాంతో ఇప్పుడు నేను హైదరాబాద్ చుట్టుముట్టు కానీ వరంగల్ చుట్టుముట్టు చూస్తే ఇంజనీరింగ్ కాలేజీలు అన్ని పౌల్ట్రీ ఫార్మ్లే పాతాయి అన్న. ఒకవేళ మీరు అట్లాగే ఇట్లా ఫారెన్ వచ్చేస్తాయి అని చెప్తే కొద్దిగా మీరు గైడ్ చేస్తే ఫారెన్ యూనివర్సిటీలు ఎక్కడ వస్తాయి అంటే 1 ఎకరం 1.5 ఎకరం కొని పెట్టుకుంటాము. మమ్మల్ని కూడా దాంట్లో డైరెక్టర్ గా చేస్తారు.
ఓకే ఉమామేశ్వర్ రెడ్డి. థ్యాంక్ యూ. మనోజ్ రెడ్డి, ప్లీజ్. మనోజ్ రెడ్డి, అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. మనోజ్ రెడ్డి.
నమస్కారం, అందరికీ నమస్కారం అండి.
యా ప్లీజ్.
గురువు గారు పురుషోత్తమరావు గారికి నమస్కారం తెలుపుతూ, from ancient ages our only strong system was the education system in India, but what the scenario is going on, what we are seeing now is it's almost from past 20 years the education system was been deteriorating time to time. And recently, just 2 days before, what the central government has announced the new education policy, what I personally feel is the total education system is going to the corporate sector. What I feel is because the only system, the strong system was the education system. Now they are going to keep in the hands of corporate sector. And I don't feel excited to say this also. Even the renowned universities like Usmania and many universities, they may also take up by some private corporates like that. I don't feel excited to say that. ఏదన్నా మన విద్య లేనివాడు వింత పశువు అని మన గురువులు సామెత చెప్పినారు. కాబట్టి అట్లాంటి మన దేశంలో విద్యను కాపాడుకోవాల్సిన బాధ్యత మన అందరి మీద ఉన్నది. అట్లనే ఈరోజు శ్రీ నాగేష్ గారు బ్యూటిఫుల్ ప్రెజెంటేషన్ ఇచ్చినారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ శ్రీ నాగేష్. అండ్ రామన్న హెల్త్ గురించి, ఎడ్యుకేషన్ గురించి, మెయిన్గా ఈ కోవిడ్ టైంలో ఎట్లాంటి ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ టేకప్ చేసుకొని ముందుకెళ్తుండ్రు అనేది చూస్తూనే ఉన్నాం. మనకు ఈ జూమ్ ఆన్లైన్ మీటింగ్స్ ద్వారా ఇంకా మనకు ఫైర్ ఫ్లేర్ అప్ అవుతుంది మన మీటింగ్స్ కి వాటికి. కాబట్టి ఎట్లన్నా మన సారథి ఆశీర్వాదం పైనుంచి ఉంది కాబట్టి మనం ఇంకా ముందుకు పోవాలా. రామన్నక భగవంతుడు పూర్తి శక్తి ఇవ్వాలని కోరుకుంటూ సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను. నమస్కారం.
థ్యాంక్ యూ మనోజ్ రెడ్డి. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. శ్రీ నగేష్, ప్రొఫెసర్ నగేష్ గారు మీరేమన్నా మాట్లాడతారా సార్? ఏమన్నా కంక్లూడ్ చేస్తారా? శ్రీ నగేష్ గారు, అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్. ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నగేష్ సార్, అన్మ్యూట్ యువర్ సెల్ఫ్.
Yes sir.
యా ప్లీజ్ సార్.
Yes sir. అదే సార్. Sir, at the outset I would like to thank the organizers, especially to T Ramarao garu for bringing me on to this stage, which has really opened new thoughts, and to my friend Manoj Reddy for giving me the opportunity, and he was more enthusiastic to bring me into this Jana Vedika. So the one thing I would like to, in one word I would like to say to all the questions is that definitely the new education policy is good, but we have been talking about the implementation, about its reaching to the grassroots levels. That is my, the most of the concerns which we have. No doubt we are not saying, yes, as I said, we have shifted from offline to online. Knowingly, unknowingly, we have shifted. There is no denying that. And there is also no denying that private players are going to play a major role in future education system. It is also a fact. And these things we need to keep in mind and try to see that each and every student should be benefited out of this new education policy. So I thank you everyone, and I thank especially to Srinivas Rao garu, and again to Ramarao garu, and to my friend Manoj Reddy, and to all the participants. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నగేష్ గారు. తెలంగాణ జన వేదిక 342వ జూమ్ ఆన్లైన్ మీటింగ్ ఇచ్చేసినటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ శ్రీ నగేష్ గారికి, అట్లాగే ఈ వేదికలో ఇవాళ కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్నటువంటి ప్రొఫెసర్ రంగారావు గారు, ప్రొఫెసర్ ఆంజనేయులు, ప్రొఫెసర్ సుధాకర్, డాక్టర్ లక్ష్మీప్రసాద్, డాక్టర్ మసూన్, స్వాతి మిశ్రా, అండ్ అంజన్ రావు గారు, అండ్ ప్రవీణ్ సాగర్, అశోక్ బాబు, అండ్ ఉజ్వల్, అండ్ అశోక్ కుమార్, అండ్ క్రాంతి, ఉమామేశ్వర్ రెడ్డి, అండ్ మనోజ్ రెడ్డి, వీళ్ళ వేదికలో పాల్గొన్నటువంటి ఈనాటి కార్యక్రమంలో పాల్గొన్నటువంటి వాళ్ళందరికీ పేరు పేరున్న నా యొక్క తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక తరఫున ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ, ఇవాళ ఈ కార్యక్రమము చంద్రమౌళి, ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో ఇవాళ మా మిత్రులు చంద్రమౌళి మీడియా, ప్రెస్ మీడియా, ప్రింట్ అండ్ ఎలక్ట్రానిక్ మీడియా నుండి పాల్గొన్నటువంటి మిత్రులందరికీ కూడా పేరు పేరున తెలంగాణ జనవేదిక తరఫున ప్రత్యేక ధన్యవాదాలు తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఈనాటి ఈ కార్యక్రమం ఇంతటితో ముగిస్తుంది. వచ్చే ఆదివారం మరొక కొత్త టాపిక్ తో మీ ముందుకు వస్తామని తెలియజేసుకుంటూ ఇంతటితో ముగిస్తున్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ
వెరీ మచ్. అందరికీ ధన్యవాదాలు. వచ్చే ఆదివారం మళ్ళీ కలుద్దామని తెలియజేస్తూ ముగిస్తున్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.